Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Ever Bristol City podcast. We're in pretty joyous mood because the final score at over in Swansea, you can never think of the name of their stadium these days, but the final score was Swansea City 1, Bristol City 1. I'm joined by Neil, Mark and Ian. We're going to go through the game as we normally do. And like I always do, I'll start with each of you. Brief 30 seconds on the final whistle. How do you feel on the final whistle? You first, Mark.
Simply move over, darling. Tonight is Jason night. Dynamic performance by our defensive midfielder in City of Weller point in driving rain in Swansea. Fell behind to a soft, debatable goal, but better finishing and restricting Swansea to one shot in the second half. Could have earned all three. Much better performance. Things are looking up on Wednesday.
Okay, Ian, your thoughts?
Yeah, we just need to be better in both penalty areas. We need to be more clinical when with our finishing. Sinclair Armstrong missing another one-on-one at a key time. I thought Swansea's goalkeeper was outstanding. Signed from Burnley and hardly played last season, so he's a player we could look at if we improve. But a good start to the week. We've now got 2 home games coming up, and I'd bite your arm off for 4 points from those 2 now.
Fair enough. Neil?
Sloppy game, first half, again, just like the Oxford. I think at half-time you could feel if we carried on the way that we did, ultimately we were not going to get back into that game at all. Second half, we came out more on the front foot, more in their face. Substitutions, I thought initially might make us a little bit weaker, but actually they made us stronger.
They did
as well. So with it, first half, it was a tale of like the Mark Harris thing, wasn't it? It could easily have been 2-0.
It could.
And then a very different game, but we held in there and got deserved points in the end.
I mean, if any of you looked on the fans forum at half time, it was, as you call them, some of them, Ian, the agenda brigade, but the knives were being sharpened, and I was quite mild with what I put, which was pour across the pitch. Another self-inflicted goal conceded. Earthy for Mehmeti, McNally 4-year contract, FFS, and Twine not showing value. Well, some of that still applied through the 90 minutes, maybe. But Mark, when you saw the lineup, pretty much what everybody was expecting, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you had to play. Got his dynamism on the right. Bird and Knight is the pivot in front of the back four. Allowing Roberts to go forward, but our problem is really still protecting the defence, and I think that showed in the first half, which was why I think Bird is culpable for that. Can't really tackle, didn't really have an influence on this game, but it's playing the ball was played through to feet far too easily, and they were able to play the ball out from the back four behind you, who was pitched too far forward to get onto Tanner. So we need to tighten up really in those areas, protect the back four better. That was our problem in the first half. I don't think we were that bad. We just overran the ball when we were in good positions in their half. Poor final ball, poor attempts to shoot, good save from the goalkeeper. But there was a lot to admire, but it's in the middle of the pitch where we're particularly soft, and that's where better teams could really tear us one, I think.
Okay. Ian, it was the side that everybody was hoping Liam would go with, which was Hirakawa in the starting lineup. Roberts keeping Pring out. I mean, the only question mark for me was maybe Mehmeti being wide in that left wide position, but in line with your expectations, I think it was Ian, wasn't it? Based on what I saw you write on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we were, what I said was, if we're going to stick with 4-2-3-1, And as you know, I've talked for a while, especially when Rob Dickey's back, about going with a back three and being a bit more solid. It was the side we expected. I think when I look at what the problem was in the first half, it will be an ongoing problem if we don't dominate possession. And that's it. We're playing with 2 8s in front of the back four, not a 6 or 2 6s, as some people do. So in terms of the overall game, I think we should have won it. The stats back that up. People criticising Anis Mehmeti. He was some people's man of the match on Twitter after 90 minutes. I don't look on there, as you know. Why would you? I thought McNally was our best defender over the 90 minutes. Didn't put a foot wrong. I think he won almost every ball that was his in the air. I thought Zach had a poor first half. Hirakawa is what I call a Stanley Matthews winger. He'll cause lots of damage going forward, but in terms of covering back and defending, not so great. And you could see why he was replaced, because he was blowing a little bit as well, with Mark Sykes, who I thought had a really good game when he came on, looked back to his old self when he's good. And if we go on playing with 2 8s, we simply have to dominate possession, which we didn't today, but we were still better than Swansea in every factor of the game that matters. And I'll give you 2 quick ones. For example, goalkeeper saves. Their keeper made 7. Max made 1. And that was the one that was, fair play, it was absolutely hammered at him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but he still had to get his hands up and hit it in the right direction, not up into the roof of the net. So well done him on that. In terms of the touches and the other one I'll give you is total touches in the opposition box. We had 36, they had 20. So we need to be more clinical in the final third. We need to cross the ball better. Our set piece delivery needs to be like the one by Twine at the end. And that's what he's capable of. Great header from Jason Knight. And who's not the biggest. He's only 5'10".
Wrapped up the whole game, Ian. There we go.
You've got, when you're criticising a team, I think it's best to wait for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And how you're complaining about McNally having a 4-year contract. If anything, when Rob Dickey's back after the international break, when he's back in full training, I think Zach needs to be looking over his shoulder. And the young Korean lad that they had on the left flank, he gave George Tanner the most difficult game I've seen George have.
Yeah, but again, part of that was because he didn't have a lot of support in front of him in Hirakawa for the reason that you just said.
Exactly that, David. Exactly the same thing happened to him that happened to Cam Pring up at Derby.
There we go.
So you've got to, but you can't just say, oh, well, look, the Korean lad's good. Yeah. So double bank on him like they did on you in the second half. Now, Sykes had that bit of extra physicality, so he did well.
Let's talk about the second half when we get there. Neil, it was bold playing with 2 wide men in Hirakawa and Mehmeti, particularly as it's away from home, and neither of them are renowned for, well, we don't know too much about Hirakawa, but neither of them are renowned for getting back and helping out the defence.
In the last podcast, we spoke about potentially putting Roberts in front of Pring on the left and just having a little bit more balance. We still only scored 2 goals away from home on the basis of that. Yeah, okay, we had more than enough chances to win that game today, and we should have won that game, particularly in our second half performance that we'll get to a bit later on. For me, the first half, McNally, I'm sorry, I have to disagree.
Well, I thought it was crap. Let's not beat about
the one shot that they had on target, that Max actually saved, he was awful. The guy turned him inside out in the middle, and all he needed to do was actually just side foot it, roll it to the side. He panicked in that position, had no composure, a la Armstrong, and just whacked it as hard as he could, almost like junior football. Hit it as hard as he could, and it was straight at Max. Otherwise, that's 2-0. And then you're looking at the composure in the middle there. What teams are seeing with us now, particularly in the first half, and better teams will do, is our composure in the middle is just gone. in the middle of the defence. You know, you're putting Viner back there and that chance that we'll come to in a moment. You know, that's just pressure on them, pressure on them, pressure on them. So if you're a coach, if you're Williams, you're just saying, these guys are conceding goals for fun at the moment. Just put pressure on them and they'll flake. They are flaky. And we were flaky in that first half. There was misplaced passes, not just from Viner, McNally, Tanner. Roberts didn't have a particularly great game in there as well. I think he might have picked up a bit of an injury, a bit of a knock as well, with Pring coming on, and Pring was better when he came on. But Max's distribution first half was
he lost it. He lost
absolutely awful again. You know, so it's a cumulative effect. And I'm watching a team that last season, you know, you've got Dickey is a massive loss, like we spoke in the last podcast. But we've still got quality defenders back there.
Yeah.
That were the fourth best defence.
Yeah.
And you're looking at them now. What are we now? Joined 23rd? Something like that? Joined 22nd? In terms of goals conceded?
Yeah.
And that first half, you know,
it was
we just looked shorn of confidence, you know, that we were wanting an extra touch. We were just half a second slower than what we needed.
People were saying on I think it was Twitter, but obviously on the forum as well, that, you know, they seem quicker and sharper than we did, and I thought we were in for a bit of a hiding. That said, Mark, the first real chance came to us, and it was a very bright opening, and, you know, they were saying on the Sky that, you know, it was a good advertisement for Championship football in terms of the pace and the intensity, and it was played at that pace. But on 8 minutes, Hirakawa, he'd earlier put in a cross inside the first 60 seconds, but he sent Armstrong down the right, nice little pass, and the first save from Vigouroux, the goalkeeper, when Twine got on the end of it. That another day that goes in, doesn't it?
It was a terrific pass by Hirakawa, and behind Josh, I think it was Josh Timon, wasn't it? It was a left back, and, you know, Armstrong into space. The cross hit Cabango, so Twine had to adjust his position. So he hits the ball across his body. He has to do that quickly. So it's not a bad position for Vigouroux to save it, because the ball's at the right height, but he gets very strong hands to it. And I think that's part of his game. If you're a keeper, you want to push the ball as far away from the area as possible, so nobody gets that tap in. But, you know, it was a great bit of football, and Twine was just a bit unlucky against what is, you know, the best shot stopper in the league. But I mean, he has to be, because Swansea are conceding 13 shots a game. It's over 13 shots a game they give away. So he has to be good.
They'd only conceded 4 goals in 6. So
exactly. But they give their goalkeeper plenty of work to do. But good hands.
Yeah. Ian, we talked there about Twine with that effort saved, and if that goes in, happy days, because it was a great move, you know, nice flowing move. And we see snippets of that the way City play. But what do you think of Twine's overall performance, save for the corner at the end? But he had a free kick in a good position, and they were saying, Scott, on the commentary team, Scott Twine's, you know, he's great from this distance. He could be in the next street and it wouldn't be out of range for him. But what are you thinking of his overall contribution? Because that's 1.5 games we've seen him now in that pure midfield role. What did you think of him today?
I still think that's his best position. And he will, I mean, he got an assist today. I still think from the set piece, I think his set piece delivery needs to be better, more in terms of consistency. I'm not doubting the fact he can do it. I just think he needs to deliver his set pieces more consistently. But you could say that the same. I mean, Armstrong's missed another one-on-one today. That was key. That goes in, we win the game. I think you either play McNally there, or you say, well, okay, leave him out and play Fally and Armstrong up front, or one of them with Wells. That if you're going to play with a 10, he's the best one we got, and I think we've got an option now if he's injured, or if for any reason you consider he's off form or he needs replacing in the games he's not playing very well. We got George Earthy, and that's his best position as well. Good to see him back on the bench today.
Yeah, and maybe he could have got some minutes. Neil, the opening exchanges, it was a bright opening to the game, wasn't it? Yeah, and
it was end to end.
Yeah.
It was. There was two teams going at it
in the rain.
In the rain, yeah. It was
Great away support from us, wasn't it? Sold out the away.
Sold out. They only give us 1,800.
Oh, that's not many then, is it?
No, I mean,
still not bad for a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't it? But I just think, my thing about giving the whole of the Atio end to, it's great. Really, over the years, attacking that second half is fantastic for an away team, isn't it? Can't think of too many other away grounds we go to that have.
Sheffield Wednesday bringing 2.5. I read somewhere.
I know. I'm not surprised.
They'll be.
It's a good. It's a good day out for people. But I mean, for me, that Twine effort, he hit it so well.
Yeah.
That the keeper made that instinctive save, and that it's one of those that if you scuff it almost in that situation, it's harder to save. If he'd half hit it, it probably would have been down at the ground. As Mark said, it was just at the right height because he hit it so well. It was pretty much the only height that he could actually sort of get his hands to almost, at point blank, innit? But it was two teams going at it.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it was entertaining for the neutral. I mean, there was always something happening in the game.
I've had somebody text me, a Birmingham City fan, just said a good point for you, like a good game to watch, sort of thing. Yeah,
there was always something happening in the game.
Yeah,
even in the second half when Swansea only had one shot.
Yeah,
it was still, I didn't
even know that. I just got nothing.
It was off target. But it had a pace and an energy to the game, and I think it was two teams that were trying to win the game.
Yeah.
Even when it was 1-1 at the end, for the last 20 minutes of the game, there was two teams still.
Well, we were going for it. Then they seemed to have maybe the last 5 minutes where I was a bit worried that they might steal it from us without really threatening Max. Okay, let's go on to the goal. Let each of you have a say on it. You first, Mark. It was Potnick had got in a shot when our defence was all over the place, and he hooked it, took a deflection,
hit Tanner's back.
Went for the corner off of Tanner's back. I defended Max for the Blackburn error. It's a big bone of contention. I saw Liam Manning say that referees said they're not going to allow this, and this happened. What's your take on the goal? Should we have done better? Should the other defenders have been more alert than they were? What do you think?
Right. So let's just look at it in blocks. Firstly, what are the rules? Was Ronald with his arms, and he's a few inches shorter than Max, got his arms wrapped round him? Max has got his arms raised up in the air, so he's trying to get the referee's attention. I'm being impeded. Right, that's the first thing. The second thing is Swansea do the train, so they've got about 3 defenders behind City's defenders. That breaks up into 2 groups who are all wrestling each other, and then Cabango runs round the back and side foots it across the goal into the corner. So the defenders aren't able to stop Cabango running. But what are the rules? If the goalkeeper is being impeded, that should be a free kick. On Sky Sports, I think Andy Hinchcliffe, the co-commentator, was saying he needed to throw himself to the ground. But, why does a player have to do that? If he's being impeded, I mean, yeah, perhaps he has to do that. I mean, Don Revie used to say to his players years ago, if you get touched in the penalty area, throw yourself down to get a penalty. We're in a situation where a goalkeeper has got to throw himself on the floor to get a free kick, even though, and the assistant referee must be able to see this because there was space there, a player has got his arms wrapped around his waist, so he's stopping him from moving freely. What does Max do? Throw himself down or push him away in the movement? It's a crazy situation.
So you're saying
it's not Max's fault. We should have defended it better. There are those 2 trains, about 3 or 4 City defenders, the Swansea defenders. That breaks up into 2 groups. They're all pulling each other, and Cabango runs round the back. We should have defended that better. But should a player be allowed to put his arms around a goalkeeper and stop him moving? No.
Right. So are you saying Ref Josh Smith should have
he should have disallowed it?
He should have done it. And
but what are the rules?
Max
does anybody know the rules?
Well, the referee should know the rules. And Max maybe should be a bit more streetwise than what he was. So you're not.
Well, no, David, you've got your arms wrapped around.
Yeah, no, I agree. But there's some people on here. They're saying,
the referee's basically saying that's legal.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
ridiculous, isn't it?
Some people are saying, "Oh, another error by Max." And
No.
I'm inclined to agree with you that. Well, I do agree with you, Ian. What do you think? Should Max have done better because his confidence was shot after that? Because some of his distribution and the period at the half time, it was a little bit awry. But the goal, or the incident, the wrestling, ref got it wrong. Max should have been more streetwise, or a bit of both.
Referee had two key decisions to make today. One was that goal, which he should have disallowed. And I'll go with people saying, well, it wasn't much. If you show me in any coaching manual or any referee's rule book, FA rule book, where you can grab hold of somebody around the waist or pull their shirt, then I'll agree with you. But until then, it's a foul. The other decision he absolutely bottled was when Carl Norton charged Anis Mehmeti in the back, shoulder charge to the middle of the back on the edge of the box. I don't think it was inside. I think it was right on the edge of the box, but it was inside the D. And he bottled those two decisions. So he gets a 4 out of 10 from me because it wasn't a difficult game to referee. It wasn't a dirty game. There wasn't a ton of fouls in it, but he bottled that decision because, and you can see how relieved Swansea were because straight away Carl Norton looked at the referee as if to say, right, is this it? Because if it's a foul, if he books him, he's got to book him because it's just right outside the box. And shortly after that, they took Carl Norton off.
They did.
So they knew they'd got away with one. So he's bottled those two decisions.
Yeah.
And it for me, it's as simple as that.
Okay, Neil, what are your thoughts?
Right.
Can I sorry, Dave, sorry to interrupt, Neil. Can I just say Max should have been stronger and he should have oiked the kid out the way and punched the ball or something. And the other point that Mark made, who the hell was supposed to be marking Norton? Because he came through there like without a care in the world.
Okay.
You mean Cabango?
Cabango. Norton was one.
Cabango, sorry, yeah.
So your take.
Do you want me to talk about the goal or about Max?
Well, both.
Shall I do?
Go on,
Max?
do both, Neil.
Shall I do Max first then?
Yeah.
Right. For me, I coach in county and district football and take my county teams and all the rest of it in the non-league. I say, how do you impact this situation?
To the goalkeeper.
To any player on the pitch. It's about individual responsibility for me. Yeah, you can't dictate what the referee's going to call in that situation. Is it right that he's got his arms around him? No, it's not. Does that happen pretty much in every game?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
More so with defenders and attackers, isn't
it? There's pulling, there's tugging, there's blocking, there's all these things. If you're relying on the referee to make a decision and make the right decision, and you're just standing there with your arms up in the air going, look what's happening, and expecting that you're absolving yourself of responsibility there, and you're saying the referee's got to see this, the referee's got to see what's happening. What he should have done is take charge of that situation as a goalkeeper, being stronger and get hold of him, push him away, or be stronger in that situation.
But then the referee's not going to give a pen for that.
No, because
it's
the thing hadn't been taken by that stage. He's got it round, ball hadn't been taken, the ref would come across and go boom, and he'd go, look, he's got it on. Because you take charge of that situation, and Max, in a few of these situations at the moment, his confidence is fragile. His confidence is fragile. And in that situation, I look at it and think, I know what's going to happen next week now. If you're Sheffield Wednesday now, you're going to put that ball right on the 6-yard box. You're going to whack that in at there because you're looking at a keeper there that is shaky. Yeah. And we haven't got, Bashik's not going to come in and replace him. No. So we've got a keeper that last season, a few seasons ago, we were all going, oh, Max, not sure about Max. He was excellent last year. Yeah. In the main, he was excellent.
Behind a very solid defence, which we haven't got now. So this is symptomatic of what's going on.
As it stands here and now, he is shaky. He's shaky on his back passes. He's shaky on his kicking. Yeah. He's shaky in his command of the area. He's shaky. He might get through this. Keepers go through periods, and hopefully Max will get through it and get back to his form of last season. But he's shaky at the moment. He should take charge of that situation.
And we always used to say goalkeepers get too much protection.
No, I agree with Mark that it's a fact.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're on a football field, what can you actually do? Individual responsibility.
Yeah.
On the player. You can't. It's like they always say, play to the whistle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been fouled or fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've probably been fouled, but you play to the whistle. You don't stop. You get up. You don't roll around on the floor.
Yeah.
And you get up on transition and you get back in position
Okay.
and you play to the whistle. The goal, Max Bird just gets blocked off. Max Bird.
Yeah,
really
poor game today, didn't he?
Yeah. Defensively, he just got bundled off the ball. Defensively, a few times in the first half, he missed. I'd hate to. Dave Febbs will probably come up with some sort of stat with Max Bird and how many contested tackles he wins, but he looks lightweight in the tackle and like a little bit lightweight defensively, and he gets blocked off, and Cabango is coming up. But then I think to myself, you've got the centre back, and you've got a lightweight defensive player there. How has he come to be that he is the one marking the centre back? In a way that we would defend.
So who should be about that? All right, 2 more incidents in the first half that come to each of you on those. McNally and Viner having his effort charged down, Mark, and then the save that Max sort of redeemed himself, although, as everybody say, it was straight at him. That was a shot by Franco. So those 2 incidents, I mean, it could have been 2-0 in either of those if the guards were looking unkindly in our direction, couldn't it? Because that shot trickled. It could have gone in, but it hit the post, didn't it?
You almost described it all, David. There's
I know.
much more I can say.
What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's another unforced error. It's probably a really sloppy piece of defending. McNally is on the left-hand side, and he plays the ball back to Zach Viner, and Ollie Cooper is bearing down on him. And he hits his clearance straight to Cooper, who's pressing really well. That's what good forward should do. And of course, Max is out of position, but I mean, City should have no problem clearing the ball. It shoots past him, hits the base of the right post, and goes out of play. Could have been really embarrassing, but it's just another poor bit of defensive play, like we did against Blackburn. Getting robbed, just playing the ball out. I mean, it was a lot worse than that because it was just so easy. We didn't need to be in that position, but Viner can't get his clearance away, and Cooper presses him, and it goes back the other ends, and could have easily been 2-0.
Franco's shot. He had a lot of time.
The second one,
ball,
I think the problem we had there is, and it goes back to Max Bird again, defending those lines in front of the back four. The ball's played behind Bird to Gonçalo Franco, and Neil alluded to this earlier. He turns Luke McNally so easily, but if he hits the ball low, either to the right or left, it's 2-0. He hits the ball on the rise, but Max makes a brilliant save in that position. But it's so easy for Cooper to play the ball through the line behind us into Franco's feet, and he steps off of McNally. McNally's got to be tighter to him, which is why he just turns him with ease, just steps over the ball. He's gone. Could have been 2-0, but Max keeps us in the game.
Mm-hmm. Lucky there, Ian, were we, that neither of those went in? Because, again, one self-inflicted in the sense of sloppy play by Viner, by Zach Viner. And I know you said he should be looking over his shoulder. And there's no guarantees for Viner, is there? Because if you put with McCrory coming back as well, you can play. You could go Tanner McNally as a 2 if you wanted to, with McCrory and Pring, or I know you're quite keen on us to go for a back 3, Ian, with the various options there. But
defensively, with the midfield players we got, if I said to you, going through our team, aside from the back 4, who is better at defending than going forward? So it's certainly not Knight and Bird. It's certainly not Hirakawa, Twine, and Mehmeti.
No, you're right.
It's certainly not Armstrong. So already you're going out there with 6 attackers and 4 defenders. Yeah. Because
in which case, then, Ian, with that point, does that not mean that you sacrifice, certainly away from home, one of those? Well, and Mehmeti did have a great second half, but you don't play with 2 wide men, you can put in the middle to beef it up a bit, McGuane or Williams, because we had 2 stoppers on the pit. We had 2 stoppers on the bench. Because what you're saying is Bird and Knight are more creative than they are defensive.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly true of Max Bird. I don't know whether you call Jason Knight creative, but he's a better attacking player. But he's another one. They're both 8s. And McGuane, his talent is he will play in that position, and he's very good at carrying the ball out of defence. He'll go for it. So if you've got defenders who aren't so good with their distribution, he'll pick the ball up off them and move it forward. So he'll get the ball to the likes of Twine, Irakawa. But yeah, I mean, was it a coaching seminar once, and lo and behold, Arsene Wenger turns up. So somebody said to him, "How do you do better defensively than you do attacking?" He said, and we thought, well, this is going to be brilliant. He said, well, if you want to attack more, you play more attacking players, and if you want to defend more, you play more defensive players. And that's a bloke who won the Premier League and God knows what. So it isn't difficult, but it's knowing when to do it. Now, away from home, our form, let's be honest, we picked up 2 points out of 12. So it ain't great. Okay, have we turned the corner today? Well, if we finish better, yeah. But I'm not so sure. But it may be that we have to sacrifice a more attacking player away from home and play somebody like Joe Williams or Marcus McGuane.
I think we could have done that. Neil, your take.
The last away win for us was 1st of April
at
Plymouth.
So
the end of the season, the games at the end of the season, we this is not a new phenomenon for this season. We didn't finish the season strongly away from home. Our home form has carried on. Our home form has been
6.
And at the end of last season, our home form was, strangely enough, because Pearson, we went through.
Well, even prior to that, we had a period of about 4 years where we were the best club in the country away from home. If you aggregated it over a calendar year.
I agree with Ian, and with the stuff from and the last podcast we did after Oxford. We play the same system away from home that we play at home. And you just think, is there a certain naivety in that? Playing exactly the same. If teams are going to set up against us and they're going to know exactly how we play, and then they're going to know exactly how to actually break us down. And that's what's happened at Derby, and that's what's happened at Blackburn. And against a better team today, particularly in the first half, we were far too open again. And I think there is a little bit of naivety in the way in which we set up. I think he has an idea in his head about the way he's going to go, and Ian very illustrated it very well. Let's outscore a team. Let's put 6 attacking players on the pitch and outscore a team. It's not happening. We've scored 2 goals away from home. All season. So if we're not scoring the goals, maybe we need to be a little bit more reflective on the fact that if we're not going to score the goals, let's make sure we don't concede the goals, and let's focus on actually building ourselves defensively again, getting ourselves solid defensively, and then expanding our play from there on transition, rather than putting the same team on there and say, go ahead, fill your boots again. My take.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Into the second half, and we had Mark, Sinclair Armstrong, Mehmeti, good through ball, 1-on-1. I don't think he did anything wrong there. The keeper was having a good game anyway, Vigouroux. But one of these days, do you think Armstrong needs to have a few games where he comes on? Have we seen enough of him to just have a little change? And that's about the 5th 1-on-1 he's missed this month.
I think he gets in the positions, and that's the problem. I think he needs to hit the ball earlier, get the ball out of his feet and hit it higher over the keeper. Keeper's going to go down low. They'll do the spider. I mean, mainly, you see Emil Martinez today. They'll spread their legs and try and deflect it with their feet. But he needs. Alan Shearer used to hit the ball early, and he would always hit the ball high over the keeper, because keepers generally go down low, so you've got hit the ball high so the ball goes over them. But that, you know, it's something that he's going to have to develop, because he's not a natural finisher like an Alan Shearer. Obviously nowhere near it, but he gets in those positions, and I think that's what's the most frustrating thing with Sinclair. You know, when he does get opportunities and he doesn't take them. He was up against the league's best goalkeeper. I think really he could operate. We should make more use of his strength, and he should operate more as a false number 9, where Twine can play off of him. You know, not as a. I mean, we were playing. The commentators were saying that we were playing as a 4-4-2 in defence. I mean, really, Twine should be taking more responsibility for shooting, because I think he shoots better than a lot of the players we got on the front line anyway. So, yeah, it's frustrating, because he's getting lots of opportunities, and Mehmeti burst out of defence. It was one of Mehmeti's best games. Right at the end, he's in a good position. A little bit more finesse with his final ball.
Well, I wrote down it could have
been a perfect day.
But that's Mehmeti. You know what you're going to get with Mehmeti, and as Ian said, you know, like in the match day 20, you know, should we be looking at a Morrison, or when he's fit, a Nelson or something like that? But for me, how you can get your two attackers on the pitch, right? Because we've already said, Hirakawa and Mehmeti offer nothing defensively, right?
Well, what they're there to do, and Mehmeti did offer stuff defensively, because he was coming out, and I think Hirakawa, what you got to do is you can't leave too much space behind you in transition. So I think they got to move up and down the pitch together. They've got to be a bit tighter. The lines of defence and attack have got to be a bit tighter. So, and Hirakawa was guilty of this today, of when he was pushed too far forward, and we've seen this with Cam Pring when he's played left back. We're playing a lopsided back four, or almost it turns into a free, and they're pushed too far up, and in transition we lose the ball, and there is so much space behind that you know, teams exploit it. That's the problem. So it needs to be tighter.
Yeah, I mean, just my view, and it's not the first time I've said it, but you know, if you're a fullback, you know that you've got Mehmeti up against you, and he's going to be tricky. But you know that the people that are telling you how to prepare for the game, you'll know that he over eggs it, like he did with that slalom run.
But he did better. I mean, there were 2 or 3 instances, David, where tight to the
he did well. No, he
tight
did well
to the goal line.
Yeah,
that was some of the best wing play I've seen from him. Where he actually
exactly.
He was very good. The stand-up cross from Mark Sight was a terrific cross.
But I think, just a personal view, that you start with one of Hirakawa, Mehmeti, or Sykes. Yeah, and I would like to see on the left, I'd like to see Armstrong given a go there. Yeah, because if you're
I think you sacrifice. Then again, Armstrong, you've got a forward player. Yes, he's strong going forward, but you got the same problem, haven't you? You lose the ball, and you're easier to play.
All right, okay. No, I know.
He's also very right-footed, Dave.
All right, fair enough then. Fair enough. All right, look, I was watching 40 Towers the other evening. It's still bloody funny, even after years. All of them, you know, all of them. Anyway, so moving on to you, Ian. The one-on-one with Armstrong. Do you think Liam might be tempted to start Mayulu? Because I know we're jumping forward a bit. His little cameo for the last 5 minutes plus time added on, I thought he looked a bit tasty. Actually, he looks a bit more aggressive now that he's shaved all his hair off.
Certainly, as with that haircut, fair play to the kid. I mean, if you're going to have your haircut, have your haircut. I think you and Neil got more hair than Fally now. You've got 2 choices. We play Armstrong because he's strong running in behind. Right? Now, Fally ain't going to do that. It's just not his game. So he wants to be back to goal, edge of the box-ish, final third, ball to feet. And if you see both the goal he scored and the one Twine scored against Millwall, you'll see, in which game we conceded 3 and we had Rob Dickey playing. you'll see Fally at his best.
Yeah.
He's the best finisher at the club, and he's got the better touch out of the two players.
Yeah.
But if you want to be play, the ball that Mehmeti played second half, don't play that with Fally because he ain't going to make that run.
No.
Now that's where Liam Manning has got a bit of a quandary, and I think that's why Naki Wells has come on a couple of times in front of Fally, because if you want that Naki at the quickest, but he'll make a nuisance of himself going in behind, and he is a good footballer.
Yeah. He's fit.
So
And Naki looks. He's 35 next birthday, but he still looks an athlete, doesn't he? Yeah.
well, absolutely. I mean, they're all. They're all. I mean, Naki. I'm saying he's lost some of his pace, and yeah, you do when you're 35. But he's still plenty quick enough to get central defenders in trouble, and nobody likes playing against him because he backs in. He'll buy free kicks. Dare I say it? He'll stick the ball in the net if he gets a chance.
He will.
So if you go with two up front, it might be that you think, well, Naki's going to be one of them because he'll make the other guy play better, which he invariably does. But we can't do that with a lightweight defensive midfield and a defence where you've got players. I think Zach and George Tanner are just a bit out of form, not totally, but they're about, I would say, 75-80% of where they were at the end of last season. But Rob Dickey coming back would make a massive difference.
It will. Neil, we didn't have to wait until the 60th minute for the substitutions.
56.
57 minutes, off go Bird, Hirakawa and Roberts, and on come Williams, Sykes and Pring. Mm-hmm. Is it, they pretty much like for like, really, weren't they?
Yeah, I thought Roberts seemed to be moving a bit difficulty. So I just wonder if he's tweaked something or something like that.
So maybe he might be a doubt.
He might be.
And Cam did all right when he came on, didn't he?
He did.
I mean, it was a much better second half performance.
Cam is a very good player.
Yeah.
He's just like we were saying in previous podcasts, he had the hernia operation in the summer. And even before then, he wasn't great.
Which might have been because he needed
I think the strange thing with him from previous seasons as well is just to get that fitness up. It takes him quite a bit longer, I think, to actually get up to peak fitness. Yeah. Some people can get it and get fit quite quickly and respond. He just seems to not have that sort of burst that he previously had going past the players. That peak time that he had, that 6 months where he was getting to the byline and cutting it back and having that acceleration, from a standing point and the physicality and the acceleration. And we all thought, blimey, there's Pring's come on massively.
Yeah.
And he's just not quite had that for a while, I would say, for better part of the year.
But the timings and the substitutions by themselves.
Yeah.
Ian said Hirakawa was blowing a bit. He was left on his arse, I think, by, was it the Korean guy?
Yeah.
Onki's son.
Onki's son.
Bless you.
Well.
But the I think with it was the right substitutions, and I thought Ian made the point. I thought Sykes was quite bright when he came.
Yeah.
Actually, he brought a certain intensity over there on the right back. He always comes on. He's obviously quite a fiery character at the best of times. And he obviously came on and I've got a bit of a point to prove here.
Yeah.
Now.
But that's what you want.
Came on with the right attitude.
But that's what you want, isn't it? That the players are, they want to play.
And he was getting into places and he was getting.
He put his foot in a couple of times.
Yeah, he did. I as a sub appearance from Sykes, that was okay. I found anyway. Yeah. And I think that Williams actually gave us a bit more solidity in the centre. Actually, again, I probably
we didn't get booked. That's an achievement, wasn't it?
The possession stats are just awful for us.
36.
Is it over the course of the game?
Yeah.
Right. Well, he just brought a little bit more structure in a way in which Bird and Knight together in those two.
It is that conundrum that you've got to play 2 from 3, but you don't drop your captain, because some people thought Knight was poor and has been most of the season.
Yeah, for me, Knight last year scored 7 goals, extremely good debut season for us. was excellent in pieces, but he was playing a bit higher. We've had him back in his holding sort of position because Matty James has gone, and we're trying to fill that role to a certain degree, and he's not been great for me.
No.
You know, he's at his best when he's late breaking into the area.
Okay.
We'll get to the goal, obviously, but for a small guy, he's great in the air, and he's got this presence and nipping in 5-10 yards. He's not great on cover, and he's not great on covering channels in front of the.
Well, we'll go on to the goal. I'll come to you first on the goal, Mark. We were in the ascendancy. I say Swansea were offering very, very little. And if I'd have been a home supporter, one of their fans, I'd have been moaning like I haven't looked on their forum, but they'll wonder what happened because they went right off in the second half. But the goal, he's threatened with his head, and he's a little short lad. Knight, take us through the goal as you saw it.
Right, Knight's on he's back level with a penalty spot with Joe Allen, who's I think he's with the club for about his third spell, and he's trying to hold him by the arm. But Knight just pulls away from him, goes past Cabango, and he basically jumps over Harry Darling, move over Darling. And the corner is an outswinger, but it's played with the right pace, the right trajectory. He just charges towards that ball like a man possessed and smacks it in the back of the net. It's a great set piece goal, but it's just hunger to get it. But like I said, Joe Allen's got his arm out, holding on to him like a mother trying to get his child across the road. Let's go of him. And then he's past Cabango, over Darling. I mean, for the defenders who kept us out for the majority of the game, just left him for dead. And for a guy who's a few inches shorter, but he's got such a
Darling
great
is a player that we were linked with, wasn't it, before we got?
Yeah, he's a player. I don't know if we made a bid for him, but we were looking at him around the transfer deadline. It's a player that played for Liam Manning at MK Dons, but he went over the top of him. I don't think Darling even got off the floor.
Well, he moved over to coin
smacked it in the back.
He moved over to coin your song title there, didn't he?
But it was a great goal and a great performance tonight. Knight, he was given the man of the match. Aerial duels, tackle and aerial duels 4, tackles 1, 3. Possession 1, 9, all first ranked in the game. Man of the match performance, the dynamism and the power that we want to see from Jason Knight.
Yeah, he's the Duracell. He's a Duracell bunny. I mean, that a set piece goal from us, outswinger from Twine, Ian, and Knight. For a little bloke, he got out well, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Jason's only 5'10", and he nearly scored one in the first half as well, when that was about a coat of paint wide. And Armstrong just couldn't get a big foot on it to deflect it in. I mean, I don't know when they held the meeting, and I must have missed it, but apparently it's against the rules now to put a defender on each post, which was the way of the world years ago. And the number of goals I've seen go in, that if you had a guy on the post, they'd have headed it clear, is unbelievable. It's a little bit like the number of goals it conceded when people tried to play out from the back and they can't do it. But yeah, I mean, tremendous header. He's 5'10", so he ain't the biggest. We ought to get more goals from set pieces. I mean, obviously Rob Dickey's not in the side at the moment. He got a lot of them last season. So yeah, I mean, let's have some more of it, and let's have some more of that set piece delivery. Scott Twine and Max Bird, not some of what we saw earlier. Although the earlier one was a cracking delivery, and Knight got on the end of it once again. So fair play. Yeah.
Neil, the goal, we've talked about that. Side swing close with a header, wasn't it? Vigouroux saved that. We talked about the Maulu. We talked about Mehmeti going on his slalom, where a bit more composure. He had another shot as well that he tried to bend it through the legs, didn't he? So he did some great runs in the second half.
He did. One thing I'll say about the Jason Knight, if I will, it links into the Max thing for me.
Go on.
You look at him, and as Mark and Ian has said, Joe Allen's got a little bit of a tug on him and everything. And he goes back. Now, he could turn around at that point and go, hey, ref, I'm being tugged. But he didn't. What he did is took personal responsibility in that, and he went back. No, I'm going.
Yeah.
And he actually went with energy and purpose, and actually he had a positive effect. rather than sitting there and complaining about I'm
being
being
passive.
I'm
Bit
being
like,
up-
because some people
I'm
have said
being
on the
held
text,
and all the rest
some
of it.
people have said on the text feed here, they're getting a bit fed up with turkey teeth twine. Not my phraseology. I just think that somewhat unkind. He has got a pair of gnashers on there. I did notice it today when he smiled, and they look bright. I mean, I'm still using my Colgate. Yeah, it's not doing a great job.
I thought you used Signal 2 Stripey, David.
He got booked for abuse again, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah, he got booked.
Yeah, he got booked for dissent.
But what about these people that are saying he's a bit of a whining so-and-so?
To be honest, Dave, I mean, I went up to Derby and saw him first hand as I was on the Derby, and they just got into him. They Ebu and those. They were obviously superb, and we've dealt with that previously.
Forget about Derby and Blackburn, as Liam said. You've got to forget about that.
Forget
Never mind the fact that we went on about Southampton for 2 months. Yeah,
you get in front of Twine, and he's quite easy to wind up.
Yeah,
he's quite easy to wind up, and once you wind him up, he loses a little bit of his composure.
So you're saying potential red card between now and the end of the season?
He just goes. His game goes off.
Right.
He loses his. And the daft thing was that he was complaining about a challenge that hadn't been further on the field. He wasn't even complaining about something on himself. He's just like, he gets annoyed, he gets irritated, and it has an effect on him in the game itself. And the players, knowing how pivotal he is to the way City do things, if you're an opposition manager, be interesting to see on Wednesday, Barry Bannon or something like that. Yeah. Just a little bit of kick at him, a little bit of holding on him, this type of thing, how he reacts. And it does affect the way that he actually plays in the game. But going to your Mehmeti point, there's the non-league player there with him sometimes, isn't there? However much you actually say to him, right, do this, and then he can do some marvellous things. The goal against Leicester last year, fantastic finish. But he beats a player one way, and then he just can't resist going back the other way, can he? And then go the other way, and then go back the other way. And you're like, just the one time when he tried to slather them with about 5 minutes left through the middle of the park, there's 5 people waiting in the middle. He could have gone to the byline, cut in for the byline. But no, he thinks, I'm going to.
Well, he did those two. He did that one. He did that one, which was where I used the term slalom. Yeah. But he also did another one. He did get to the byline, came back inside, and he tried to curl it in a bit like, I think it was Havertz's goal, Arsenal's 4th goal against Leicester the other day, which was sort of bent through legs. But there we go.
Incredible.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day,
blocked it, but there was no room for him to pass to. There was no room for him to pass to, so it wasn't.
No, there wasn't. That second one, there was no room for him to pass.
Yeah, the second one he should have passed.
The second one, there were players in it. But look, at the end of the day, it was a gritty second half performance, and we came away with a point from a half decent team. Yeah, because people said, "Oh, we beat a poor Oxford side." We were poor, and if we win against somebody, they were poor. Yeah, but it 1-1. Most people would have taken that result before the game. But we look forward to 2 home games now in the space of 4 days. We'll be doing the Watford Sheffield Wednesday match review at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. And then we'll be doing the Cardiff home game, probably 8 o'clock on Sunday night next week. I'd rather not have to do it on Monday morning, but we'll see. We'll see where we go. All right, but let's look forward to Wednesday. Let's look forward to Wednesday on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Tragic situation at Hillsbury yesterday. Sadly, a West Bromwich Albion supporter was taken ill and sadly passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
Comments about that, but they're in mid-table like we are. If they win, they'll leapfrog over us. If we win, we start to make inroads towards the top. Mark, Ian's already said the 2 home games coming up. Be nice to get 4 points. Be nice to get 6, and that's not beyond the realms of possibility, is it?
No, I think in a way the Cardiff game would be more difficult because they're a bogey side for us, more physical. No, they score goals from set pieces, but they've only got 1 point this season. So I think Sheffield Wednesday are in a period of recovery after. I mean, they won their first game 4-0 and promptly lost the next one 4-0. Conceded the same number of goals as us. They'll be right up for it after a great win against West Brom. I mean, nobody would have expected them to win that game.
No, because they were 2-0 up, got back to 2-2, and then they got a winner. Which was,
I mean, it's. I think it's a question of us taking our chances, but being more solid in the middle of the pitch. That's our big weakness this season. I think we really missed the leadership of Matty James and his tackling ability. We just haven't replaced that, and I think that's because Joe Williams has been a bit below par. I think it would have been, Williams and Knight, or Williams and Bird in that midfield pivot, and that's really where we got to improve. Plus the finishing, because our XG, I know we shouldn't go on about it, but our expected goals a game should be better. We should be, if we'd have taken half the chances that we were given, we'd be further up the table. So that's something we got to sort out. But we got decent home form so far. 7 points from 9 games isn't bad. So I'm going to say we should edge it 2-1. I expect us conceding every game at the moment, but I think we can win it 2-1.
Okay. Ian, 4 points. It's 4 points would be very nice, yeah. But 6 points, when you look at the two sides, when does City ever win 2 home games back to back in the space of 4 days? Yeah.
1969.
I'd love a tenner for how many times we've been in the position where you say, well, that's not a bad result away. We got 2 home games going on. If we win those, we'll be safe from relegation, in the top 6 or whatever. So I don't. That's why I said I'd bite your arm off for 4 now and not play the games. But yeah, look, if we play like we played today and we're more clinical. Because one thing, it's all right saying, well, the defence is this and the defensive midfield is that. You look at the number of saves Max O'Leary has to make, and it ain't many. And if you look at the goals, if you look at the goals at Blackburn, 2 terrible mistakes. O'Leary for one, Williams for the other, right? But Blackburn only had 3 shots on target in the whole game. And I think Blackburn are a decent side. Derby, if we'd taken our chances, we could have been out of sight by half time. Second half, terrible. So Blackburn, whole game, poor, really poor. So, you don't know. It depends which City turns up. I thought we were good against Oxford. If you said, did we deserve to win the game? Yes, we deserved to beat Coventry, and we didn't. So things could be better, things could be worse. So it's on to that game. Depends who's fit, doesn't it? But if
who's fit and whose selection? I meant to ask Mark, but I'll come back to Mark before in our final round of questions in a moment. But Ian, do you anticipate any changes to the starting lineup?
I wouldn't be surprised to see Mark Sykes start in place of you because of how close the game is. The 2 games in 2 days. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come in, and I wouldn't be surprised to see either Naki or Fally come in for Sinclair Armstrong. I think in midfield, Joe Williams might start at the expense of Max Bird. He might. So, but when you look down, you think, well, we're at home. And Max Bird has been really good at home, whether he's played 10 or he's played as one of those 2. I'll call them holding players, but we know they're both really 8s. So I think both games will be difficult, but for different reasons. Wednesday will be very confident after they beat West Brom, like Mark said, really unexpected. But on the same token, they'll think, well, hang on, we were 2 goals up and got pulled back to 2-2. So they're a side that I think we need to attack. I don't think we've got the players to sit back against anybody. We just haven't.
Certainly not.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there were a couple of changes, perhaps Joe Williams and Mark Sykes in, but we'll see when it comes to Saturday. Also, I agree on Scott Twine. Needs to keep his gob shut. Andy Vyman used to get booked for that all the time, and it used to drive me up the wall. So just shut your mouth. The referee's not going to change his mind, and you don't want to pick up a cheap yellow because all it then takes is a shirt pull or a trip, and you're off in your band. So just behave yourself and shut up.
Personally, I'd like to see Earthy get some minutes on Wednesday or in the next 2 games. Because if I'm West Ham and I think, well, he's fit, and if you're not giving him more than half an hour a game, well, we'll have him back in January. But,
Well, ultimately, the 2 wins we've had this season have come from us being in losing positions. You know, both where are we? The whole game was the one where we were in front.
Yeah.
So we come back today. We've come back from a losing position. What's the other draw that we've had?
There's
Coventry.
8 points in total now.
8 points in total from losing positions. All I want for Wednesday is for us to go out there with a bit of confidence defensively
and just have a scrappy 1-0 win.
Well,
just got 2 scrappy 1-0 wins.
Just a bit more composure defensively, and then we can expand on that.
Yeah.
And then we can push forward, and then we can do the things that we do well. And then you'll come away from a game thinking, oh God, that wasn't a crazy game. Or even every win, the 2 wins this season, both of them have been like, oh God, if only this hadn't happened or that hadn't happened, or crazy. So I'm just hoping for a performance in which we have some more sort of control. That at the moment, the way that we're playing the game, we're just rushing around a helter-skelter type.
Lacking composure,
lacking confidence, lacking control on a game. So hopefully we can go and express ourselves on Wednesday, a bit more control on a game, a bit more of a composed performance, and actually go and win the game. And then the Cardiff game, they're awful. 2 goals all season, 1 point. Crazy
They haven't got a manager yet either, have they?
Haven't got a manager
no rumours of Neil
But
Warlock. He won't go back again for a 3rd time, will he?
God knows, he'll say no and then do it.
Yeah.
But the point is, they will fill the away end, and this will be like their cup final. This will be like their situation. Right, let's get the season starts. The season starts on Bristol, Sunday,
and Callum O'Dowd comes in.
Yeah,
still can't believe that bloke's still
everybody
stealing a living at championship level. Yeah. The 2 home games take us up to match 9 of the season, and we like to talk about doing things in blocks of 10. If we win both, now Tomo has said on here, it's 1.3 points per game, 9 from 7. But if we end up with 15 points and 9, that is 1.6 points per game, which, using my favourite word, extrapolation, that pretty much guarantees you a place in the playoffs. The thing to note is we've then got the international break, and this time last year it was the famous deconditioned international break. But after the international break, we come up against 2 very difficult teams, which is Tommy Conway-inspired Borough up at...
he's done his hamstring.
He's not going to be playing. He's out till the new year, isn't he?
He's done his hamstring.
Well, we come up against Borough and Leeds at home. That's the last 2 games. So we really need to win both of those, or as Ian said a short while ago, we need to get 4 points. And 4 points will put us on 11 points from 9 games.
Wouldn't it?
That's right. No, sorry.
No, try 13.
I can't add up. 4 points would put us on 13 from 9. Mark, just to wrap up, if we do get that 13 from 9 games, do the extrapolation, it's 60 something points. That's what we are, really, isn't it? Upper mid-table on a good day.
13th.
Lower mid-table on an average day. But 13 from 9 would be acceptable, yes?
Yeah, I think, having looked at City over these games, we're going to have a lot more patience that fans don't have, because they're saying that Liam Manning's had a lot of money to spend in the transfer market. Therefore, he should get us into the top 6 or close to it. Based on the 9 games we played so far, there's plenty of promise, but there's still sloppiness, lack of clinical finishing in one area, and poor defending in the other area, and bad unforced errors. But if we keep doing the things that we're doing right, and that's creating lots of chances, playing the ball through the lines well, or we're playing with a lot of energy when we do play an attack, we look very good going forward.
Okay.
It's just that final ball and that little bit of finesse. The problem we've got is we've got 2 strikers for relatively little money, which means they're by no means a finished article. And I don't think we'll see the best of them until next season, which means that the midfielders, especially Scott Twine, are going to have to weigh in with goals. So I'd like to see Scott Twine taking more responsibility. He's got to play a little bit further forward. than Sinclair Armstrong. I think Armstrong might start on Wednesday. I'll disagree with Ian just purely because of his physicality, and I think Manning will do that. But he'll make the other changes that people have said. There's no reason why we can't win both games. That's what we should be going at.
That's fair enough. Colin Millward
cut the mistakes out, take the chances, and we win both games comfortably.
Yeah. Colin Millward said on the text feed, if we're 6 or 7 points off the playoffs at Xmas, we're on target. So Ian, adding the 4 points to the 9 we've got after 9 games, and we'll turn a blind eye to what's coming up after the international break. But 13 points from 9. Do you give that a C plus, a B minus, a B or a B plus in terms of where you expected us or hoped we would be?
Well, you more or less said it yourself. If you pick it, I think the actual number is 1.66. I'll check with my figures afterwards. Per game, you get in the playoffs every season for the last 6 or 7. So that's how I work it out. But I only look at it after 10 games, because if you take a small sample size, if you win 1 and draw 1, if you spun that over a season, you'd go up with 90 odd points.
Yeah, but we get into that point now where you can extrapolate in a sensible way. But on a personal level, assuming we get
not after 9 games, you can't, Dave. When it's a 46 game season, we could get to Christmas and half the squad could be injured.
I agree. Look, I agree.
You're going to put the curse on us, Ian. You say things like
I just have. Ian, would you be happy if we get, if you looked at the fixtures at the start of the season and all the changes that we've had because we've brought in X number of new players, do you think 13 points from 9 games is better than satisfactory?
Yeah. Let me come back to that. If after 10 then you're saying we got 13 after 9. After 10, you could have 16.
You could, and then you could still be on 13.
And then you're going strong. So my gut feeling is, and people go, oh well, you've been given loads of money. You've been getting bullshit, right? We spent about 3 to 3.5 million net, because we had to sell Conway and Taylor Gardner-Hickman to be able to do what we've done. And I think we've done really well with it. Now, it was 10 players brought in, and would have been 11 if we'd have held on to Taylor Gardner-Hickman, but we didn't, and he's doing well for Birmingham. So I'm quite keen. I'm happier now than I have been over the last 3 or 4 seasons. When we get it right, the football's better. People talk about, Oxford were a weak side. Well, yeah, but they drew 0-0 at home with Burnley yesterday. And I think Burnley are a pretty good side. I think you finish 2 or 3 points above Burnley, and you're going to be in a very, very good place. You might even be in a good place if you finish 2 or 3 points behind them. So, and by the time you get into the next 5 or 6 games, you could have loads more injuries. Now, as it stands, touch wood, you've got Atkinson and McCrory. Both, I reckon, will both be playing after the subs bench today for the under-21s. And I reckon Harry Cornick might get a run out as well, because he hasn't played much football. He's been on the bench and not come on.
Oh, that's right.
So, and that seems to be the way he's going. Now, you've got Rob Dickie hopefully back after the international break, and he is. I've been very surprised of how much we've missed him in terms of his leadership, bringing the ball out from the back. We just look a calmer, better side when he's there. Now, forget the fact he's a bit handy from a set piece for a goal. So I'm perfectly happy with how we're playing. Right. I'm not happy at the results we've got, and genuinely, I think we should have won more games, but we haven't.
If you look at positions we should have been in, if you look at Hull, where we conceded late on, that's probably the critical one. If we'd have got an extra 2 points, we'd be sat there on 11 points. Coventry, but we can't win every game. Yeah, no, the 2 bad games with Derby. The 2 bad games with Derby and Blackburn.
bad half at Derby, Dave. Not a bad game.
Fair comment.
I mean, for me, the season at the moment has just got that sort of a little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah.
You know, we've got Manning come in. It's his first new season. We've made these changes and changes in personnel, and some key players. Matty James has left, and Conway's gone, which needed to happen. And we've brought a lot of youth in, and then we've had this constant sort of chase of Scott Twine to sort of do it. And at times we've played some really nice football, but allied to that is the defensive uncertainty, which has cost us, 13 goals and so far this season. But we're in 14th.
Yeah.
And it's just,
and
are we actually? We've been up there now, so. As a club, without getting too much into it, because that can be another podcast, I'm sure, in the future. But as a club, what is it, our 10th season?
This is our 10th successive. And when we got promoted to the top flight in the 60s, 70s, it was our 11th season.
Well,
and 70, no, I was just looking at the fixtures. No, I was looking at 74, 75 season. Yeah. We were there or thereabouts. And then 75, 76, we did it. So this is our longest stint at this level without... making step forward.
we just this season we just don't. I just don't see it at the moment. Things can change, and as people have rightly said, if you're at Christmas 6 points off, you do. But as a team, we just don't look. It's early days, but we look a mid-table side.
All right. So then
we look
if you look at
and
what was said. In the wake of a certain person's departure that we were mentioned on here, that we had a top squad, that the inference was that it needed to be better coached, and we weren't far away.
I don't know. I mean, I think Liam actually went through a really difficult stage between January and March this year when we were not happy with him, and he came through that, and then we had a period. Where we were,
decent, didn't lose in 7, wasn't it?
And we came through it, and we started off this season, but putting the Oxford game to one side because that could have gone, and that was an important result. Then it's just one league, it's one win. We're out of the cup, and it's just one win. So that now we've got the 2 wins, and arguably we should have won today.
So we've got to get a minimum of 4 points in these 2 home games coming up to. Give the season credibility. That's my view. All right, everybody. Look, thanks a lot.
Dave, can I, before you wrap up, can I just say that it's the 3rd anniversary of the former Players Association, and Neil Palmer and others do great work with that. And I think they brought about 100 players back to the club, and a lot of the players are down there very regularly. Now, I saw Mark Shell in the car park the other day, and I was having a chat. In the coffee shop before a senior Reds with Bobby Williams. So there's Jeff Merrick's down there. Clive Whitehead comes.
I was chatting to them last weekend myself.
Yeah, and Paul Cheesley sits next to me at a lot of dinners. So it's really great that now the club have embraced those people that gave so much for the club. In the case of the ones that tore up their contracts. And if it weren't for them, there wouldn't be a Bristol City. So let's just give them a mention and say to Neil and Co, keep up the good work, keep up the good stuff with the murals as well. I understand we got some more of them coming along. So let's and it's a good positive vibe around the club. We'd all like the results to be a bit better. They're not, but let's hope after the next 2 games everybody's happy and not moaning and groaning.
Well, we hope so. It'd be nice to get a win over Wednesday. On Wednesday, as I say, we'll be doing our review of that game at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. But in the meantime, enjoy the early part of this week, and we look forward to speaking to you all again on Thursday or talking to you via your podcast platforms when and wherever you choose to listen to them. Thanks a lot, everybody, and good